Welcome everyone to Pittman's Pit and my WWE NXT review. NXT was live last night on the WWE Network. Well, I shouldn't say live, it was actually a pre-recorded show. Regardless, it was awesome. This episode centered around the Dusty Rhodes Classic, a memorial tag team tournament that was set up to A, push the tag team division, and B, pay tribute to the late great American Dream Dusty Rhodes, who was integral in pushing and developing a lot of the stars in NXT, and was very close to a lot of the people that worked there before he unfortunately ended up passing away. The first match in this Memorial Classic tournament was supposed to be Austin Aries and his tag team partner, Roderick Strong, taking on TM61. But unfortunately, Austin Aries was at an untelevised show, and he was facing Shinsuke Nakamura, the NXT heavyweight champion, and Shinsuke gave him an orbital fracture in his face. Dude looked like Glenn after the freaking baseball bat with the barbed wire got to him. It looked ugly. I hope he gets better soon because he's one of the best down there. Heck, he's one of the best in WWE, period. So, they need him back as fast as possible. I hope he gets better soon. Hopefully, he's had plenty of time to recover since NXT is pre-recorded, so hopefully this happened months ago. But I think it's only been a couple of weeks, so I'm not entirely sure. Regardless, what ended up happening is Austin Aries had to pull out, but he wouldn't pull the team as a whole out of the tournament because he wanted his partner, Roderick Strong, to take on both of the members of TM61. William Regal, the general manager of NXT, comes out and he says that it's going to be one-on-one of Shane Thorne versus Roderick Strong, and whichever combatant wins, their team will advance in the tournament. Honestly, this was a great match to start with for NXT. And I think that a lot of the things that helped with the fact that I enjoyed NXT so much was the fact that they got straight to the point. They knew what they had to promote, and they got straight to the point. They didn't put all this haunted house stuff like Monday Night Raw does. They didn't put freaking Kurt Hawkins in a random ass open challenge for the Intercontinental Championship that they didn't really need. They didn't do any of that pointless stuff because they didn't have the time. Because NXT is only on TV for 1 hour. So they gotta get straight to the point. No BS. We're gonna get to what we need to promote. We need to say this, and this. And we need to make sure that we get all this done within the next 60 minutes. Because if we don't, that's really our only chance. So, they got straight to the point with this match. And it ended up being one of the best matches of the night. Roderick Strong, I'll admit, I don't watch a lot of wrestling outside of WWE. I honestly never really have, because WWE is what I grew up with, so it's all I've really ever known. Now, I'll look up other wrestlers, like when Shinsuke Nakamura was debuting, I looked him up to see what he was about, and see, if he was any good. So, if there's a wrestler that I hear is coming in, and I don't know them, I'll maybe look up where they came from and look up some of their old matches. But other than that, on the regular, the only matches I really watch are on WWE programming. So up to now, I didn't really know who Roderick Strong was. I didn't really know what he was about. But if this match is any indication, man, WWE just picked up a great talent, and man, he is a brute of a worker. Oh my god, some of those moves look freaking stiff. Honestly, there were some times that I was just, complete cringing when I was watching this stuff, because I was like, ouch, that move looked like it hurt like hell. Is that guy gonna be able to stand after what he just went through? And they promoted Roderick Strong as the king of the backbreaker, basically. They said that, I don't really know how many flavors of jelly beans for the freaking jelly bellies there are, but they said, Corey Graves said that however many flavors there are, it's only half as many as Roderick Strong knows how to do a backbreaker in all these different variations. So basically, Roderick Strong knows twice as many variations of a backbreaker as there are Jelly Belly flavors. I don't really eat Jelly Bellies, so I didn't really get that much, but basically I'm just going to assume that it's a lot, and it puts over how skilled this man is in the ring. And honestly, he looked like for a second he was going to win. But then what ended up happening is Austin Aries was outside the ring, and he was running his mouth. So, basically what ended up happening is Aries was running his mouth, and Shane Thorne's partner, ended up trying to attack, Austin Aries. So Roderick Strong got in the way and did like this sliding drop kick to the outside. By the time he got back in the ring, Shane Thorne got a roll up, and 1, 2, 3, he pinned Roderick Strong. So I think that's a good way to book it, because obviously, if I'm looking at it, Aries and Strong need to be on their own. And even if you were to pair them together, I think TM61 is a better tag team just because they gel together better. Because they have more experience together, really, as far as I know. But ultimately, TM61 advances. They're going to be in the Final Four for the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic. Next up, what happened is DIY, hashtag Do It Yourself, which is a tag team consisting, I don't know why they named it that, but it consists of Tommaso Ciampa, the Psycho Killer, and Johnny Wrestling, Johnny Gargano. They were supposed to take on the team known as the Revival, which is Scott Dawson and Dash Wilder. But after DIY came out, Dawson and Dash, they came out, and Dawson was using crutches. Now, I started getting a little worried because Aries' injury that we had just seen him address, that's a legitimate one. That's one that actually happened. I hadn't heard anything about Dawson being injured, so my first glance was to end up believing it, to think that maybe this guy really did just freaking mess up his freaking leg. Because he was saying he tore this, he pulled that. He basically had listed like 3 or 4 different injuries that happened to his dang knee. And I'm like, wow, maybe his knee really is freaking destroyed. Turns out he was freaking faking it. But the Revival pulls out of the tournament just because they don't want to face Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano. They don't want to face them. So your tag team champions, the Revival, end up pulling out of the tournament, and hashtag DIY, again, I hate that name, but the talent is there for the team. They're amazing. So I'll kind of let that slide. And I kind of get what they're saying with it. Like, if you want something done, you gotta hashtag do it yourself, basically they're saying. But I just think it's kind of stupid, like hashtag DIY, like, why is everything gotta be a freaking hashtag these days? I just don't get it. But, regardless, the hashtag DIY, Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano, they end up going ahead in the tournament to the Final Four as well as TM6-1. Later in the night, you saw hashtag DIY in the back, and Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano, they're saying, like, they weren't surprised that freaking, Dash Wilder and Scott Dawson, basically, they weren't surprised that they pulled that stunt to fake to get out of the tournament, because they knew that Ciampa and Gargano were going to win, so they pulled out so they didn't have to face them. So they said that, A, they're going to win the tournament. They're going to finish this tournament off and they're going to win it. And then when they do, when they get the Dusty Rhodes Classic Cup, they're going straight after the tag team titles, which the Revival holds, and they're going to beat them for the tag team championships. Honestly, I could see them in the next round losing because the Revival comes out and tries to screw over Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano. They would try to screw them because they're in a heated rivalry. They have been for months. So I could see the Revival coming over to screw with DIY, and that will lead to TakeOver Canada. Thank God they're in Canada, but sadly I can't get tickets to go see this. This is one of those things that I would love to see one of those days, but it's in freaking Toronto, which I can't exactly afford to fly out right now. Such is life, I guess. So, I got a feeling that eventually, Ciampa and Gargano are going to get taken out of the tournament by getting screwed by the Revival, and it's going to lead to the Revival versus DIY at TakeOver Canada in Toronto. After that segment, you had No Way Jose and Rich Swann versus the Authors of Pain. Now, I'll admit, when I first saw No Way Jose, this big, hairy-looking mofo freaking dancing around like he's freaking Disco Inferno or some BS like that. Honestly, I didn't dig it at first. I freaking hated it. But then eventually, he starts showing more athleticism. He shows a lot of heart in his match against Austin Aries, even though the crowd completely booed the hell out of him. But honestly, I'm starting to dig him now, and especially with Rich Swann, who has a similar gimmick, but a lot more charisma, so he's able to pull it off. So, they pair Rich Swann and No Way Jose together as a tag team, which I think they should keep after the Classic. They need to keep this going, because it's working, the crowd is getting behind it, they're mixing Rich Swann's "Can you handle this?" chant with Jose's "No way, Jose, no way, Jose" chant. And they're going, "Can you handle this? No way, Jose." And it's actually kind of getting over with the freaking crowd. It's getting their attention and actually ending up, I can't believe I'm going to say this, entertaining the hell out of me. I'm sorry. But there's something just so infectious about it once you get used to it and once you actually give it a chance. I'm sorry. It actually freaking works. I don't want it to work. It's like that freaking, the fact that I know Cesaro should be in the main event, but I'm actually starting to like the whole bickering thing between him and Sheamus as much as I complain about it, and I will keep complaining about it until WWE actually does something with Cesaro and actually gives him the main event push he deserves, but this is not about that. This is about the fact that this is what you need to do. You need to take two characters that are similar, but one has more charisma than the other, and one is having a better chance of getting over than the other, and you pair them together so that it can actually even it out, and the guy that's not getting over can hopefully feed off the guy that is, and that energy can boil over until they become nuclear stars. And I got a feeling that's eventually what's going to happen. The Authors of Pain, on the other hand, they're not about charisma. They're not about having a good time and dancing around. These are two big, badass, I think Hispanic, Samoan, something like that, guys that are just absolute destroyers when they step in the ring. They get in there, they beat the hell out of anybody that steps in their way, and ultimately, they win matches by utter domination, which is ultimately what happened again tonight. There was this one move where freaking Rich Swann did this dive over the ropes onto the Authors of Pain, and they caught him, and then freaking Jose gets off the top rope, and he takes out all three of them. So, I thought that spot was cool, but that's literally the only real offense that Jose and Swann were able to really get on him. After that, it was pretty much Authors of Pain crush, Authors of Pain smash. It was pretty much just that. They hit this tag team finisher of basically one of them held the guy in a Russian leg sweep, like holding his arm and standing beside him and holding his leg, like trapping his leg in place. And then the other guy ran up and clotheslined him while the other guy was falling back, or about to fall back. And that combo finisher, because they're so big and have so much momentum going for them, I would imagine that hurt like hell. So, I don't know what they call it, I think, if I remember hearing correctly, the final chapter. Which, I like that, but it just seems a little bit hokey. But honestly, these guys are just badass, so I'm willing to give it a chance. I'm willing to just let this slide for now. I'm willing to just give this a chance for while it is on my TV. After the Authors of Pain, advanced, you had a series of promos throughout the night for the other matches that would not be represented on this episode of NXT that were going to be at NXT TakeOver Toronto. You had a promo for Asuka versus Mickie James, which is going to be an awesome match. Like, Mickie James is one of the greatest women of all time, and Asuka is just, well, it's very confusing to explain what she is. An utter badass. Like, I literally once described it to my mom, who I talked about wrestling a lot, I talk her ear off a lot. I literally once described it to her as she's Goldberg, but female, Asian, and shorter. Other than that, literally she is a female Goldberg, and also happens to be Asian and happens to be shorter. But other than that, like, she's literally just as badass as Goldberg ever was. She is freaking, honestly, I've never seen a woman that is both parts beautiful and utterly freaking terrifying. I don't know whether to think she's cute or be scared to death of this girl. I don't know which one I feel. It's always so confusing yet awesome whenever she's on my TV. I'm like, I don't know if I like you or if I'm scared to death of you right now. Because frankly, she's the type of woman that when she smiles, you know you're about to get your damn head kicked off. So they did a promo segment for this epic for this epic match of one of the all-time greats of the past versus one of the future greats of right now for the NXT Women's Championship, which Asuka holds. And it literally looked pretty good. That's it, just pretty good. Because, honestly, my one gripe about it definitely put over Mickie James for anybody that wouldn't know who she is. But since it's on NXT, and frankly, the people that watch NXT, majority of them are your hardcore fans that they've been watching for years, and they want something a little closer to what they remember in, say, late 90s, early 2000s. So, that's the type of people that watch NXT who would know already who Mickie James is. So maybe you should spend a little more time in this video package. Now, in her matches, they've been doing a good job, but I'm just saying, in this video package, show more about why Asuka is a reasonable opponent for Mickie James. Anybody that's seen her matches knows she is, but you have to represent that through the video package that you show. You can't just have it be all about Mickie James and her coming back. I understand why you do that, because that's supposed to be a big deal and you want to make it feel as much of a big deal as you need it to be, which is a lot, but I'm just saying you need to even out a little bit of the representation of the characters. You need to promote Asuka just as much as Mickie James. So, honestly, I'm looking forward to that match, but I'm just saying the video packages could be improved a little bit. They could be brought up a little bit. Next up, we had a mention, not really a video package of any of the other matches, but you did have a mention of Tye Dillinger versus Bobby Roode. Another match that, honestly, I kind of wish they would have held off them turning on each other until after the Dusty Rhodes Memorial Cup, because when they were paired together in that classic, I actually was rooting for them because A, they're both awesome, B, they're both the most charismatic characters in NXT right now, besides maybe Shinsuke Nakamura. C, they're both the two of the best wrestlers, besides maybe Shinsuke Nakamura, on the roster. And number 4, they're both, they both happen to be Canadian, and I just think they look good as a team, and I love seeing them. So, I was actually rooting for them to stay together for the Tag Team Classic, and then after it's over, after basically Tye Dillinger wears out his use for Bobby Roode, you have Bobby Roode then attack him. Maybe even have him, smash Tye Dillinger's face into the Dusty Rhodes trophy. You could even have him, maybe if they make it, that part of it is detachable, he could pick it up and just smash part of the trophy over Tye Dillinger's head, or something like that. But I digress, they ended up doing it in the first dang round. So, ultimately, we're gonna get this match at TakeOver Canada, Canadian versus Canadian, and honestly, I think it's gonna be a great match. I'm really amped for it because I know both these guys, when the lights are on and the pressure is at its biggest, I know they can deliver. They can bring the heat when they need to. So, I have no worries about this match. It's gonna be an amazing way to either start the show, put it in the middle of the show to keep the fans interested, or hell, if it weren't for the fact that I know that we're in for a brawl with the main event with Joe versus freaking Nakamura, Samoa Joe and Shinsuke Nakamura in the main event for the NXT Championship. If it weren't for that, I'd have this match actually main event. because I know it can be that dang good. But either way, no matter where this ends up on the card, this is going to be one of the big matches of the night, and I'm looking forward to it for sure. And the final match that they talked about and said that there will be a contract signing for next week on NXT is going to be the NXT Heavyweight Champion, Shinsuke Nakamura, the King of Strong Style, versus Samoa Joe for the NXT Championship. Honestly, I've loved every second of this feud, every second that these guys are together, facing off against each other, doing promos against each other, or just plain beating the hell out of each other. I am on the edge of my seat. This is what wrestling needs to be. They have a reason for going after each other because Joe, A, he wants the championship, and B, in order to get said championship, he tried to end Shinsuke Nakamura's career. He tried to break him in half. He tried to absolutely destroy him with steel steps. Gave him a neck injury, I believe. So, Nakamura is pissed. He keeps coming after Joe and absolutely brawling each other all over the ring. So, honestly, because of how much is on the line, because of how personal they've been showing this feud to be, I think they need to up the ante. What I would do is have Shinsuke Nakamura go one-on-one with Samoa Joe in either A, a no-holds-barred match, B, a street fight, or C, a last man standing match. These guys want to beat the hell out of each other. I say let them. I say give them a match that they can absolutely put on a show by being the stiff, brutal, absolutely knock your teeth out, absolutely clean your clock, vicious animals that these two are. Send them after each other and just let the fans watch them tear each other limb from limb. I know it sounds a little brutal, but honestly, this is the kind of feud that calls for brutal. This is the kind of feud that calls for vicious. This is the kind of feud that calls for one of these son of a guns shouldn't be standing by the end of it. So I would have Shinsuke Nakamura, Samoa Joe, last man standing, street fight, or at least no holds barred match. So your next match was for the final qualifying for the final four for the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic, which was TJ Perkins and Kota Ibushi versus your next tag team qualifiers, which were Sanity. They won a pretty good match against Perkins and Ibushi, and honestly, it was one of the best matches. It was the best match of the night. Ibushi once again killed it and delivered. Once again, you had TJ Perkins damn near steal the show. And yet again, you have Sanity, which was this new stable that has come to pass in NXT. And they've just been wrecking up shop. And they have just been destroying people. They're this crazy, kind of weird, animalistic. You don't really know what's going on in their head, but they're so damn crazy you don't really want to know. That's pretty much who they are. And they won by this finisher of One of them had the guy in a had Kota Ibushi in a power slam. The other guy went under him and did like a suplex, or it might have been a running neck breaker. I don't really know which one it was supposed to be. I think the running neck breaker. And they both did the move at the same time and then pinned him. So your next match is at the Dusty Rhodes Classic next week will be hashtag DIY, do it yourself, versus Sanity. No, wait, it's TM61 versus Sanity, sorry. And your next match after TM61 fights Sanity, you're going to have Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano, hashtag DIY, will face the Authors of Pain. These two matches will happen next week. The winners at NXT TakeOver Canada will face each other for the finals of the Dusty Rhodes Memorial Classic Cup. That was NXT this week. Again, I loved it. It was great matches. Everything got promoted in one way or another that needed to be touched on. And they didn't BS around it. They just, because it was only 1 hour of wrestling to sit through, they got straight to the point, said what they needed to say, and got the hell out of Dodge. Come back again next week on Tuesday night as I bring you a review of Monday Night Raw. Until then, this is Jonathan the Hot Wheels Pittman saying so long for now from the pit.